I sit behind the darkness, watching you. This is the story of what happened to myself and to a little group of my friends. I am reading the entries from my journal, exactly as I made them. We were in danger of destruction at any hour. We knew we had no other course but to get away with all attainable speed. There were 6 of us. Myself, Albion Moonlight. Thomas Honey, once champion heavyweight boxer of the world. Billy Delian, in whose useless heart treachery and betrayal lie. Carol, a woman like any other. Jeter, the careless murderer. And Joseph Gambetta, a poet. We camped for the night in a little clearing about 50 yards from the highway, near an abandoned filling station. Fire and dried our clothes. The evening slowly turns to black stone, and the hammer of God chips at the sky, making stars. On May 3rd, we entered a forest, and were set upon by great ugly-tempered dogs. 2 we shot, scattering the rest. We stopped to eat at midday under an enormous oak. We held conference on the best manner by which to defend ourselves against these surly brutes. Shooting seemed the only practical method of defense, yet we knew it unwise to have guns in our hands. We decided at last to arm ourselves with clubs, which were easy come by in the thickets of birch and pine. But the dogs did not show themselves. At nightfall, we heard their vicious threats on all sides. We took turns keeping watch. I got up this morning with a headache and a feeling of bad fortune just ahead. What has become of the dogs? It is almost ghostly still in the woods. A dry wind rustles the trees. I am positive we are being watched. Joseph Gambetta has disappeared. We are now following a road that leads beside a river. We found the drowned body of Joe Gambetta, caught in snags by the riverside. We buried him beneath the shipwreck of a great oak. Snow is falling on the river. The flakes are big and soft, affording excellent cover against bombers, which can be heard high overhead, purring like giant cats. It is getting dark. The dark water takes the white flakes in its mouth. We have come at last to a huge hotel where we may rest and refresh ourselves. On one side, its windows face the river. On the other, stretching away as far as I can see, lies a great open space pitted by shell craters. The human race has bled to death here. The dogs have come out in the open. Across the river they sit on a hill, in hundreds, thousands. They sit on their haunches and look at us. I stood on the hotel porch and shot 4 of the dogs. Then my gun jammed. This had never happened before. Their eyes light up the fields at night. The dogs have crossed the river and now surround the hotel. They sit there in a great circle. They do not bark now. They do not fight each other. They watch us. Today the dogs got Jeter. Carol has stabbed the innkeeper. It will be necessary for us to leave. A spangling of stars showed from time to time through the rain as we pulled stakes late last night. We are wanted by the police. Thomas Honey and Billy Delian are fighting over Carol. Honey is stronger, but his opponent is wiry and courageous. 3 men rode by in the twilight yesterday. Their marksmanship was certainly of an inferior order. Carol gave birth to a 7-pound daughter early this morning. We named the child Crystal. Upon her forehead is the yellow brand of this plague summer. We found a mud-spattered mule browsing by the roadside. Now the mother and babe can ride. A group of bombing planes flew over this afternoon, forming a big V. We sat on a hill, watching the show. We arrived there late at night. Gas killed off most of the town's inhabitants. The mop-up crews took care of the rest. Under an apple tree, I found the body of a sparrow. Its lungs had collapsed under the concussion of a shell. Bats flitter past in the moonlight while we pore over our maps and charts. We can hear guns thudding in the distance. In the morning, we broke into a store and secured provisions. I stuffed my knapsack with herring and oversized pretzels. We found an automobile, a 12-cylinder Mercedes. We are taking the automobile road to Toppenville. We must traverse more than 900,000 kilometers straight up the side of a mountain. We are well supplied with alpenstocks, machetes, machine guns, binoculars, and aviators' goggles. The little green bushes of gorse brushed past us like prairie chickens dead from ptomaine. Once we passed a large group of people gathered in a field around a fire. They had an old fat woman strapped to a post and were slowly cooking her amid shouts of merriment and good spirits. She seemed to be laughing with the others. The road narrows around the side of a mountain. We've got a dead man at the wheel. We ran over and killed a man on a bicycle. Planes flew over and dropped their eggs. We left the car and scurried for cover. The car was blown to bits. Some of the bombs contained gas, and we put on our masks. The baby died at twilight. We were held up and robbed of $700 by 6 masked gunmen just outside Dover Trap. We arrived at Dover Trap late at night, foot-weary, hungry, and badly in need of baths and clean clothing. We were promptly arrested for vagrancy. We were held up here for 4 days, while Billy Delian was investigated on a charge of rape. Dover Trap is a city with a population about 3 times as great as that of Pasadena and Cedar Rapids combined. Easter falls on November 8th in these parts, the 4th of July on March 10th. They are justly proud of their civic record. No births, no deaths, no runs, no errors. In the square, they have erected a tower in which motion pictures are shown. Unlike those we know, these films concern themselves solely with shots of photographers squinting through cameras at other photographers with cameras. The citizens have their stars just as we do. This season, it is photographer L. May 18th. We got away at 6:20 a.m. The entire population of the city assembled to bid us Godspeed. Carol says the others have learned of my journal. She thinks that I am in danger from them. Poor devils, they do not realize that I am trying to save them. I am a placid, sentimental person, given to sending out Christmas cards. Before retiring, I cleaned my rifle. During the night, I dreamed that Carol had been raped and murdered by a person or persons unknown. I awoke to find her gone. Today we found Carol's decapitated body. We buried her at night to avoid a brush with the police. That same night, Billy Delian and Thomas Honey sat at a table and planned how they would kill me. Their faces were intent and cunning. My pursuers are hot on my trail. They have commandeered an armored car equipped with shortwave radio and swivel machine guns. I ran for 5 miles until I came to the seacoast town of Nirave. The sun glowed in the sky like a blood-red orange tossed there by a carefree schoolboy. As I walked down the street which overlooked the harbor, I did not notice that people were going crazy in magnificent houses, and that the poor were starving quite shamelessly in the open streets. I have taken a room in Nirave. My window is thrown open to the rain. It beats in with the aggressiveness of liberty. When I got up this morning, I discovered that everybody in the place had been bound and gagged during the night. Monster footprints lead from room to room. I have barricaded my door. I wonder what would happen if I telephoned the police. Billy Delian has been elected president. This evening I looked out of my window. A sound of savage hammers falling on wood echoed upward. I saw that a scaffold had been erected in the square. A great crowd of people stood there with faces uplifted. A bell was tolling. Thomas Honey was led forth from a cell. The prisoner mounted the stairs to the gallows. He took the rope in his hands and slipped the noose over his head. The trap was sprung. His hands went up like wounded birds to his throat. Billy Delian is proving a very popular president. He has promised to do a lot for the farmer. 13,000 oleomargarine dairies have been compelled to close their doors. 596,000 suspected spies have been arrested. Newsreel theaters report heavy booing whenever President Delian is opening a new bridge or kissing a not-so-new baby. June 24th. I am alone now. Something is standing in back of me as I write this. The door is locked. The windows are barred. I have a feeling it will try to kill me. My only weapon is my pen, which I grip in my fist, ready to strike. I am sorry for the men who are dying tonight. Everyone is saying, where can we hide when the war comes? No one at all is saying, where can we hide the war? When men are at war, there is no hatred of soldiers. It is the artist who is despised and reviled. The only escape from war is to become a soldier, to lose all touch with your own identity, to become part of one huge quivering mass of fear and horror. Full speed ahead to the slaughterhouse. The objective was an old sawmill. I dashed about with the rest, now here, now there, stopping every now and then to get breath. The uniforms were of two colors, tan and olive, but every so often, someone blew a whistle, and the fighting stopped, while the two sides changed uniforms. After a while, the whistle would blow, and they'd start to fight again. There was a sad-whiskered old boy who just moseyed around, looking, I suppose, for a friendly face and a thump on the back. This was the more renowned of the two generals on the field. The other just sat on a lard pail and scowled fiercely. By now I was on the tan side. The olive greeners were coming down the gully in tanks and Buick trucks. We had thrown some big tree trunks across the road. I crouched down behind a little bush and waited. The minutes went by. I unslung my canteen and took a drink. The water was tepid and full of typhoid bacilli. Now the artillery was beginning to go into action. Somebody whizzed by me and took cover under a partially destroyed kitchen wagon. It was my old friend, the lard pail general. I turned away in time to see 150,000 men pouring into the old sawmill. They were wearing dark orange uniforms. Vultures circle low in the sky. Only the mutilated bodies of boy soldiers have the proper sacramental attitude. I am leaving today for Galen. I am not satisfied with our condition on Earth. I have armed myself against their weapons, to be so indolent that the flies will bury their dead on my eyelids. To sit on a beach and let the waves comb all thought of endeavor out of me. To to live in such manner that I never make a single blood-rotten dollar, to study history in order only to have it to forget. Nobility begins when there is no longer any reason to have faith.